Good afternoon.
How are you?
I'm very good. You?
Put seatbelt on?
Yeah, definitely.
Hold on,
Good to see you.
and you?
Do you prefer Kelvin or Mr. Chairman?
Definitely Kelvin. Definitely Kelvin.
Good stuff. So we're going to go for a bit of a drive,
Brilliant.
bit of a catch up. It's been a while since I've seen you. So,
How's your driving?
well, we'll find out in a minute.
Yeah.
So one man in football that's been a good friend of yours, Mr. Wilder. Have you spoken to him recently?
Yeah, we've exchanged texts and chatted a little bit, and very congratulatory, of course. Even with Alan and Matt as well, who were here,
Yeah,
up there as well. You know, it's a fantastic achievement, isn't it, really, considering. And you know, I think it was about 11 years ago when I employed Chris for the first time, and he came into a club that was 13th in the conference, and now 11 years later he's getting a team promoted into the Premier League. So, you know, it's fantastic.
and I mean, recruitment in any walk of life is hard in itself. Doesn't matter what business or sector you're in. I imagine recruiting a football manager has got its own challenges and unique in its own right. Did you see something special in Chris 11 years ago and his team?
I think it's tough to say. I think as you've seen, you know, over the course of the 4 years at Northampton, or 3.5 years at Northampton, you know, recruitment isn't the easiest thing in the world in terms of managers, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And what seems to be a really good appointment doesn't always have the best outcome. And a couple of appointments we've had have been, you know, almost universally sort of approved within the fan base and, you know, everybody else. So, but it doesn't always work out. And I think you looked at Chris. The important thing with Chris at the time back then was that he was still quite young, but he'd managed a lot of games. So he'd been at Halifax for a while, and he'd managed a lot of games. He had a lot of experience. So. And that worked out. That worked out there, and it obviously worked out. Not that I recruited Chris at Northampton, but
Yeah.
we inherited Chris at Northampton, and that worked out well, you know, then as well.
And I mean, there's a lot made about, you know, English managers, particularly in the Premier League. Do you think he's got what it takes to succeed now and make that step up into the elite division?
Oh yeah, absolutely. He's proved it. You know, I don't think there's that much difference to being in the Premier League to being in the Championship, or, you know, managers have made that step up. Look at Sean, you know, at Burnley. He's done the same thing, and Sean's a prime example of that. And, you know, I actually spoke to Sean, you know, a couple of weeks ago after they just played Chelsea, and talked about a couple of things. But, you know, it's doable, and Chris has obviously got something that you can, from a management perspective, that definitely you know, galvanises a squad of players.
So looking at our season that's just ended, talk me through it, summarise it.
That's a big question. I think you would probably categorise it as disappointing overall, but as certainly you can see the seeds of improvement and see the seeds of growth. Obviously we had a terrible start, and we can't get around that, you know, and we had a start that wasn't acceptable, especially considering the investment that we made over the summer and keeping players that we did. And then Keith came in, and I think, you know, Keith's points tally has been very good in terms of squad that he inherited, and a losing squad. And I think not anyone in that squad can turn around and say that they weren't, you know, they've had successful time in the last sort of 2 years being relegated, and so and then this year. So I think he turned that around. We're in a period of change.
Yeah.
We're in a period of change, and Keith's come in, and he's a strong character, and it was important in hiring him. He is a strong character, and he's got confidence in what he's done and doing. And you need that when you're going through that period of change, because he's got to change that dressing room, and he's doing that, and he's, you know, and it'll upset a few, and hopefully it works out.
So big summer ahead. Let's fast forward then to a couple of weeks' time or a few weeks' time when the fixtures are out. What's the first fixture that you look for from you personally?
That's an interesting one. Obviously, I think if MK Dons stay down, that's always a. If they do, you know, if they go up, it'll be different. But if they stay down, that'll be always quite a good fixture. I think our fans look forward to that one. and so that would probably be up there. Just trying to think who else. It's probably the MK Dons fixture. I think would be the first one to look for.
And the match day experience for a football fan, whether you're going there with your dad or with your parents, or you're a sponsor and you've got some hospitality. Obviously, a manager and a player are very different. But from a chairman's perspective, just talk me through. You wake up at 8 o'clock. Talk me through the day.
8 o'clock's a bit ambitious. Probably a lot earlier than that.
Okay.
I think with the flying and stuff, it just depends. For example, Saturday was. I'll give you an example of Saturday in terms of. I actually flew in. So a lot of the times I'll try and fly in, on a Friday afternoon, so I'm in for Saturday morning. So it gives me.
So how many weeks of the month are you spending in?
I'm probably here a week, a month, maybe 10 days, something like that. Just depends on what's going on, meetings with the council or meetings within the club and games. So try and get a couple of weekends in. Like for example, this trip I came in for Saturday and I'll be I'm going to head back Monday because after the end of season dinner and get to go to Oldham on Saturday. So probably about that. So this Saturday I flew in and then I started a place in Oxfordshire and so went there, got a couple of hours sleep. Mum and Dad were there, so my mum and Dad came to the game with me. So we probably get here for 1:30 and just kind of do the bit that the chairman do, I guess, and say hello and shake hands and speaks to the manager and etc. And then watch the game like everyone else and and get disappointed when we concede and get happy when we score. So we're in the end football fans really as well. So we go through the ups and downs the fans do and the sponsors do, etc. So that's a typical match day for us. Nothing crazy or ridiculous. And Saturday mornings are quite interesting because you end up talking to quite a lot of people in football because they're either travelling to a game. So I talk to other chairmen, managers. It depends. Is
there sort of like that chairman? Have they got chairman of other football clubs? Have you got that sort of? Is it like a bit of a close-knit community where you can sometimes call each other up and share?
Absolutely.
Share knowledge and.
I think one of the things in football is a bit different to some other businesses. You're only really competing on the pitch. Like the Stevenage chairman Phil Wallace is a good friend of mine, and he lives in Florida as well. So we spend a bit of time out there and chatting and stuff. But we're never going to compete with Stevenage off the pitch from a business perspective. We're not competing for sponsors, so there's no real harm in us sharing ideas or having discussions. We'll compete on the pitch. We'll compete with players and etc. But off the pitch there's no competition. So we can get on well, and we can chat. You don't get on. It's like any walk of life. You don't.
But you've got that strong network to call upon if you need to.
You don't get on with everybody, but you do. You get on with most, and if you're genuine, reasonable people, you tend to get on and can have a chat.
So obviously the football club's an integral part of the community, and you've got the community, you've got a strong youth section and the community section. The women's game is going from strength to strength. I'm not sure if I've told you this before, but part of our group we manage Kelly Smith.
Yeah.
The Lionesses have got a big summer ahead. How do you see the women's game taking off, if you like, over the next sort of?
I think it's really developed. I remember going when I went into Oxford originally. It was quite influential in bringing the women's women's team into the club, and I think back then and how that has developed in 11 years. And I look at the ladies division here, and I know Grange Mortgage is very influential in the sponsorship of that, and then that's gone from strength to strength. And it's always a challenge. Funding is always a challenge, but I think I think as a club we've done as much as we can to help the ladies group, and to the extent of having games on the pitch, which has never happened before, and as a club we're supportive. So I think there's still room for growth. But even I watched the West Ham documentary with the youngest chairman or something. I can't remember the name of it, but I watched that the other day, and that was quite entertaining.
Is it Sullivan's Son?
Sullivan's Son, yeah. And, being a West Ham fan, there's a certain affinity to that, but it was good to see, and it's good to see that you can now see the games on TV, etc.
Yeah, no, it's more accessible, and I think I was with FIFA last week and the FA at the trophy tour down at Brighton, and they said that they'd sold 720,000 tickets already. The capacity for France is 1.3 million, and they reckon they'll be at 1 million by the end of May, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
So it's certainly, I think, if the Lionesses do really well, which hopefully they will do, it's going to take the ladies' game nationally on a much bigger scale. But I think women in sport in general is going to really kick that on across, not just football.
And I think, you know, you're starting to see, you know, the level of profile, and you know, you've got women players now becoming pundits and doing a good job on TV, and even in a crossover way. You know, Phil Neville going in and manage the women's team. He's a high profile name, whether he's a man or a woman. It doesn't matter, but he's a high profile name in the game. So, you know, and he's gone in and stepped into that role, and he seems to be doing a good job, and I'm glad for Phil, because he is a nice fella. And the women in that group seem to be responding to him, which is great.
And the Northamptonshire FA have recently appointed a female chief exec, first time ever.
No, it's, you know, we're a club, we're an inclusive club, so it doesn't matter. You know, I think most of our staff are female, to be honest with you. So we you know, gender, race, etc. It doesn't matter to us. Yeah. So and it's good to see people getting on in the game.
Definitely. So here we are then at the end of the 2018-2019 season. Fast forward 2 years. Where's the club at then? Where are you in the club at then?
We're terrible about to be doing plans. You know, one of the things we'll say is, you know, the important thing for us is that everyone looks on what's happening on the pitch, and sometimes we get a bit clouded on that. But from a football club perspective, we are doing fantastically well off the pitch in terms of you know, the match day experience, the community, the academy, etc. You know, getting 16th in the 72 clubs in terms of match day experience is a wonderful achievement for a club like Northampton, and we can't forget that. And that's taking investment, and that's taking time and effort. And you've got to say that, you know, the staff here do a wonderful job, and they work incredibly hard in what they're doing. And so to answer your question, you know, you want to be competing in the top end of this division. You want to, you know, we all enjoyed the promotion year. You want to be getting that level of promotion. We'll provide the level of investment to ensure that, you know, the playing budget is similar to when Chris was here, or more than when Chris was here, to be fair. And you know, support Keith as much as we can on the pitch, and continue what we're doing off the pitch, and working with all our corporate sponsors and our partners and everyone that we work with on a day-to-day basis.
Brilliant. Well, I've really enjoyed this. I think from an all things business perspective, we've had a close relationship with you guys now since we started, and we've always enjoyed the hospitality, and I think there's lots of positive things that are happening in the county. And I wish you every success for this summer and next season.
Appreciate it. The driving wasn't that bad either.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Cheers. Thanks.